Since the introduction of the rune system in Diablo Immortal, we had multiple rarities coming into the game, from like the gray, then we had the blue, now we had the gold, and finally the legendary ones. We all know that the legendary ones are very rare. That's why I also put like a farming guide that you guys can check down below on the comments. But the way I'm gonna characterize this rune tier list is like I went and I checked all of them per slot, and I'm gonna tell you which one it is the best for each. We all know in common sense that the better color is gonna be the better rune, but I'm gonna show you that that's not always the case. So we're gonna start here with the head and shoulders. So while going through each slot, I'm mainly gonna highlight a few things about each rune. In general, the gray ones, we just like gonna have an overview unless there is an exception of a rune that is gonna be very good, and then I'm gonna try to explain the decisions on which ones are the best. So starting with the him, this gray rune is actually pretty good because it's gonna increase your attack speed by 2%. I mean, like, this is pretty good just for a gray rune. It is actually even better like than this blue one because it's not gonna give you like anything that you really want to output more damage. Then we have the tier. This golden rune, it is godly. In my opinion, one of the best in the game, especially if you're running a legendary setup that has a lot of buffs. For example, Rolling Consequence, Morning Skull, Mother's Lament, Bottle Hope, anything that's just whenever it triggers, it adds a buff. It is going to be very important for you to have the beneficial effect. Not only that, is also increase your attack speed and damage taken reduce. Then we have on the other side, we have these oaths, and I'm sorry if I'm going to butcher a lot of these names. It is what it is. This one, it is a completely inverse. It is for setups that you are not running pretty much any beneficial effect duration. And for example, if you're running with dots, instant damage like Starfire Shard, like Everlasting Vipers and all these things, and you don't really need the beneficial effect duration, so you can go with the skill cooldown reduction. It's also going to be helpful in PvP. Then we have here the Tor. This one for me, like when I look at these substats, and have in mind that whenever you checking like for these runes, you always want to focus on the substats to see what it actually is gonna be good at. This one is okay, better than nothing, but probably not better than these other two. And then we have the chat, man. This one, it is kind of crazy. It gives you pretty much everything that you really want for PvP. It gives you block chance, it gives you beneficial effect duration, but above all, it gives you damage taken from players is reduced by 2%. This one is crazy because this damage taken from players is reduced. It is not strived in PvP, so which means like it's not going to be nerfed by 66%. So just here you're getting a 2% damage reduction. It is pretty powerful. So going here into the tier list, obviously we're gonna put like the Nin at the bottom, then like this one as a C tier, and then I'm gonna put here as a B tier the him, because the attack speed, it is quite important. Not only improves your primary attack speed but also your animation. Then I have put the Tor because there is nothing really useful when it comes to it, but definitely is better than anything below. And then we have here the tier, the oath. As I explained, these two gonna depend on your legendary setup. And then we have the tat. The tat for me in general is the best one when it comes to PvP, but it's gonna be like very hard for you to get. Now moving on into the next slot, we have the chest runes. Here when it comes like to the gray runes, I mean, this is pretty much just a skip, but now we have here a surprise. If you see the Vox, look at this bonus that it gives. It gives you endure. Evasion rating is increased by 0.8% for every nearby enemy to a maximum of 8%. If you guys don't know, like the meta right now inside PvP, it is pretty much to stack evasion, and if you don't have like this bonus on your gear, you can actually just slot this Vox one and get this because it's very powerful. Even more powerful for PvP than really the Seer. But when it comes to PvE and farming, I mean, I think like the Seer, it is 100% almost a must-have as a starting player, because whenever like you attack a monster and you kill it, it has 9% chances of exploding and pretty much just gonna kill the whole pack. It is really good. That's what we're looking for. The rest of the stats are okay. Then we have here the Fee. This one, it gives you the restraint. This is maybe okay, like it's quite decent probably if you're running like a wizard or like a, you know, the barbarian, where you're gonna have an increase of critical hit chance to them whenever they are slow. The rest, I mean, it is gives block chance, damage taken from suffering controls. It is okay, but moving on into the rarest ones, I mean, like, look at this. We have the coat. This one, oh my god, what a gem. It gives you like stun resistance, but it gives you again that evasion rating, and not only that, it gives you a 2% heal of your maximal life whenever you evade an attack. So whenever I started like exploring this, I started understanding why these mega whales, they just keep regening. They just have like all this invasion, they get like this extra heal when it comes to this. So really good gem when it comes to PvP. And then we have the Dawn, which is again very powerful for PvE. Look at this, attack speed, gives the explosion, and if you are like a Tempest or the Blood Knight or a Monk, you also have this rush that the dash skill cooldown recovery. It is increased by 0.12% for every 1% of attack speed that you have. This is pretty nice. This one, it is the best PvE rune, and as you guys can see here, I put it like these gray ones at the D tier because they are not adding anything. Then I put it like the Fee. This one is so niche, it's probably almost a skip. Then we have the Vox, which gives the evasion rate for PvP. It is pretty good. Then we have the Seer, again a starting rune for you to go and do some PvE farming. Then we have the Dawn, which is pretty much like the improved version of Seer, also gives attack speed. And then we have the Coat, which is gonna be the improved version of the Vox. So now let's go into the legs slot. Pretty much like the gray runes, like you just want to skip them. Like if you don't have anything better, just go with it, but they are not anything special. But now, like here, speaking about the blue one, this one is really good, especially if you're trying to level up, or for example, if you're trying to do like the Blood Knight. AFK farming is also going to be like very good for that, because it's gonna keep healing you whenever you're out of the combat. So whenever you have the bats hitting you, you're just gonna pretty much like heal yourself for the damage that you are taken. Then you have here the gold one, the Ati. Once again, this is mainly for dash classes. It is pretty much like a skip if you don't use dashes on your build, but the honest truth is like a lot of builds nowadays, even in multiple classes, they use dashes. So if you like it, go with this. If not, just slot it in the blue one, because it's gonna be better, just at least for your sustain. And now going here into the orange ones. The last, this one, it is pretty nice, especially for PvP, because it gives you the resistance set that whenever you fall below 10%, it's gonna give you like just a big shield of like 20% of your max life. It's gonna help you with the sustain. Also in PvE can be nice for you, you know, when you get like in those tricky times, it maybe is gonna help you with your survival ability. And moving forward, we have the Din. This is a really good rune in my opinion, because it adds 2 endure set bonus. One is gonna be the regen that we already have, but then we also have another bonus that 10% of your over healing, it is converted into a shield, up to 20% of your maximal life. So when you start stacking like shields on top of shields it's gonna make you very good for PvP. And the last one, it is gonna be the On, again mainly for dash skill classes. And then we have here this endure one that's gonna heal by 0.25% of your maximal life whenever you defeat an enemy. But look at here, this is really crazy for example, Blood Knight or Tempest or Monk in PvP, or even any class in general. Like whenever you kill a player, you're gonna be able to heal yourself by 2.5%. It is nice, just like any self-healing, it always makes you slightly more tanky. So now going here into the tier list, I mean, the gray runes obviously in the bottom. Then we have here the self-healing blue rune and the ATI for the dashes. Depends on which class you're going, they are pretty good, you can pick one of them. Then I have here the On. The only reason why I put it like at A tier is because again, it is niche to mainly like these dash classes, but there is an argument to be said that maybe like that healing is also pretty good for every class, and maybe you can put it at S tier, but that's gonna be up to you. Personally, I feel like the last, which is gonna give you that big shield whenever you go to like low HP, it is quite the best pick for this. But the Dean is also pretty good because it's gonna give you self-healing whenever you're out of the combat, and also like every time you overheal, you get like this extra shield on you, which pretty much like I can imagine like for example for the monk, whenever they heal themselves, they have put on top an extra shield, and it's gonna be very good for these type of classes. Then going here into the main hand slot. So when it comes here to the gray runes, I will just like highlight this the ball one, because it's gonna give you a shield, and if you're just like trying to level up, pretty much like this is actually not that bad, like to kite the enemies around or to just make them slow. It is quite good, but the main one that you kind of want to use because you want to be as fast as you can, it is the essay. This one, it is a rune that I use all the time. It gives you 3% passive movement speed, and have in mind that on the main slot you can use both of them. So in each slot you can put double rune, they stack with each other, so you can have up to 3% movement speed. It is really nice. It is a very cheap way for you to go and get like those 20% movement speed cap, and I really like it. Then we have the FA. This one here, I mean, if you're running a build that requires for you to put a shield or a slow or something like that, it is quite nice. Also, it's going to increase your skill damage by 3%. But I will say, like, personally, most of the times I am running this one unless I am like doing a content that I don't need a lot of movement speed. Now, moving on here to the lab. This one here, I feel like it is even a better version than the FA, because instead of having skill damage, they are actually giving us like 6% critical hit damage. I feel like this one, it is a better stat, but if it is a crazy rune, I mean, it is good, but there are also multiple ways to get critical hit damage in the game. And now moving forward, we have here the Ash. This is going to be super good if you're running a Tempest or a Monk or something like that. Every time there is this dash skills, it probably is going to be make you like extremely fast, adding also like that movement speed. Very good gem for these classes. It's going to pretty much be like the upgraded version of the essay. And moving on, we have here the ROM. This one is going to increase the damage to full life enemies by 5%, skill damage by 3%, and obviously the damage to players is increased by 2%. This one, it is absolutely godly for PvP. Again, every time you have damage to players is increased or reduced, these stats are not nerfed, so they are very important for PvPers, and like for you to just keep stacking them so you can output your damage as high as you can in battlegrounds, and also to reduce your damage as high as you can. So understand that whenever you start seeing these runes, obviously they are like, unless you're like very lucky and you get them, they will most likely be extremely expensive for the free-to-play or a low spender. I will still not recommend you for you to actually go and spend your plat, at least at this stage in the game. I feel like there are priorities, but definitely they are like really good. So when it comes here to the tier list, is very easy, because we have here in the D tier we have the Fear. Then I think the Ball is slightly better than this gray one. Then we have the FA, which is gonna add that shield. I feel like the SA, because it gives the movement speed, it is better than this one, but again, depends on the content. And now I put it at S tier, all these legendary ones, because each one has its own purpose. So the Lev, if you want to output as much damage, you go with this one. This one is if you want to keep your movement speed and still be fast. And then we have the ROM, mainly for PvP. This one, it is very good. As I mentioned, probably the ROM is going to be the best one in the game. Now, moving forward, we have the offhand and the last slot. And then if you see here on the gray runes, pretty much they are just like a skip. Maybe the Ord, it is going to be slightly better, but pretty much like they are not good at all. Now, this one, the Drum, is also not great. Then we have the Earth. It is okay. I mean, like you start like getting a bit more damage, but here like the primary attack damage, it is fine. Maybe if you're running like a build with the primary attack damage. And the honest truth is, like in the offhand, it only starts to be good whenever it comes here to the legendary ones. The rest is just like, it is okay. Also, something important that I want to say is, like, every time like you see these, the base attribute is increased, which is gonna be increase your life and your damage. But going here into the zoo, I will say that this one, it is absolutely crazy. In my opinion, the zoo, it is the best offhand in the game, because if you have two of them, on your offense like I got, and I got very lucky. You can actually get 8% critical hit chance, and if you guys don't know, critical hit chance is pretty much the major, the biggest, the best stat in the game for you to output as much damage as you can. Then we have here some damage to elites, damage to full life. It is okay, we mainly just want this for the critical hit chance. Then we have the pin. This one, I mean, like, it is such a disappointment. I mean, like, you have damage to shield by 8%, but it's pretty much a skip. You cannot even compare to the zoo. But what you can actually compare to the zoo is probably the Ren, because if you already have a lot of critical hit chance, there is here an argument that the RAM, you can actually go and slot it in. And if you're running, for example, a Crusader, which you are using a lot of blind, a lot of like loss of control, you can actually go and stack both of these ones and get 20% damage to enemies suffering loss control, and it's gonna increase your damage by a lot. Not only that, it's gonna increase the primary attack, and it's gonna give you a shield. These two pretty much, it's just like, forget about it, it's all about the damage to loss of control. So I will say that really depends on your build and your class. Maybe this can be better than the zoo, but in general, if we're talking about like the grand scheme of things, the zoo is just gonna be a better universal rune if you are lucky to get it. So when it comes here to the rune tier list, we have the known, we have the ord, pretty much just skip it. Then like as I said, like these first ones, it's like, okay, if you get it, like better color, maybe it's gonna give you a slight boost, but it's not crazy at all. And then obviously we have here the Ren, which is like gonna increase a lot your damage to loss of control, but again, because it's like slightly niche to the class and to a certain spec, I put it at A tier, and I put it as zoo at S tier, because critical hit chance is just gonna be universally good whatever you play, whatever is the build, and I really like it. So I hope this was informative to you. I hope you guys enjoyed. Most likely I'm also gonna make a video where I'm gonna prepare like a starting good set for PvE, PvP, and also like the best in slots and all these things. But before that, don't forget to go and leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to type cheese in the comments, because I know you guys are the legend, keep carrying this channel. And if you guys are interested to know how you can actually go and farm these runes, go and click right here on this video. And with this, thank you for watching. I catch you guys on live stream. Peace.